it's Deanna here, and I am ready to make with you the Autumn Spice top, and I'm excited because I love color blocking, and this is such a cool top. Today I'm going to be using French terry because it's still kind of a winter month, but I mean it's not super cold, but it's cool, so I love wearing French terry because it keeps me cozy but not super hot, so I love that. So I already have my pattern cut out. Here's my front, my top, my middle piece, and my bottom piece, and here's my sleeve and my neckband, and I already put my back piece together. So here's my back piece and my one sleeve together. Here's my one sleeve, and it's ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my front, and you're gonna do exactly the same thing to the back that we did that I'm gonna do to the front, so then we can go ahead and get it all prepped. Okay, so here's my front, my top piece, and I'm going to put it face up on my board, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab my bottom piece, my middle piece, I'm going to put it face down on top of my top piece, at the bottom of my top piece. But you got to make sure you put in the right side on there, not the bottom. So this is longer, so that's the bottom. It doesn't fit, so we're going to turn it around, and this one fits. This is the right size. So that's how you know. If you don't have a directional pattern on your fabric and you're like, oh, I don't know how I can tell which one's the top, which one's the bottom, you know, you don't want to fit it backwards. If it doesn't fit, then it's not the right one. It should always fit. So here I am. I'm putting it right sides together, right at the raw edge where it meets at the, right here. Well, actually, it's above bust. I'm doing the one that's above bust. There's two options on this pattern, which is really awesome. If you want it above the bust or if you want it below the bust, it's up to you. I kind of like the way it sits on the top, so that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to go ahead and serge that top. Again, as with all these patterns, if you want to use a serger, you can, but you do not have to. You can actually do a zigzag stitch on your sewing machine, and that will be just fine. I am thinking about doing one with just my sewing machine, just to show you how easy it is to do it with a zigzag stitch as well. I just really love the finish that a serger gives, because it's just, I don't know, I just think it's just a very clean finish, so that's why I always use a serger. I love it. So if you like to sew a lot, I recommend you get a serger, but you don't have to. Okay, so now I'm moving on to the bottom piece. So I did the middle piece, and now I'm putting the middle piece face up, the bottom of the middle piece, and I'm going to go ahead and grab this bottom piece, so cute, huh? And I'm gonna put it right sides down on top. And obviously this is a curved hem, so it will be facing, the curve will be towards the bottom. So the raw edge that is not curved is what's gonna be sewn to that bottom. And I'm gonna go ahead and pin it and do exactly the same thing. So the raw edge, just like I did the other one, and then after I roll that that raw edge, we're gonna put the front and the bottom together, the front and back together, front and bottom, front and back together. Now, if you haven't, you know, this is when you would go ahead and do the other one as well. You do exactly the same thing, top, middle, then middle to bottom together. So now that I've got my front, this is my front, how cute is this? This is gonna be so cute. I'm going to put it face up on my board, and I'm gonna grab my back, which I already put together, and I'm gonna put it face down right on top, and I'm gonna meet the shoulder seams. Right at the raw edge of the shoulder seams. My bangs are growing, and so I'm still not sure what I wanna do with them, if I wanna cut them, or make them go away, but they're like at that point where they're just like in my eyeballs the whole time. So it's kind of just swooshing them out of the way every 2 seconds. So now I'm sewing my sleeves. I guess I'm happy that they're growing. I don't know, I feel like my hair doesn't grow very fast. I don't know if you guys have that issue too. I feel like once I hit a certain age, no, I say that, but it's once I have my son. I used to have very long hair, had my son, and now my hair doesn't grow. So anyway, so now that my my shoulder seams are put together, you see that? We're gonna go ahead and we can move on. So we can go ahead and do the hem first if you'd like, And what we do is there's this little notch right here, which is really cool, is so that your hem is nice and flat. So you're going down and you're gonna go all the way around. Now with this top, they do the hem first, and then we serge the sides together, and we tuck in the serge or tails. So it's up to you if you want to do that, or if you wanted to just serge the sides together and then hem. It really is up to you. I am folding down, you see, with this little notch. When you fold up the 1/2 inch hem allowance, it lays flat on the side, so it helps you to have a really nice hem on that curved. So it's kind of easier to do it this way. That way, you don't have to worry about it sticking up. Sometimes curved hems are a little bit hard to do. So here I am steaming 1/2 inch. And if you've seen my videos before, I am very, very bad at measuring my hems. I am. I don't do it very often. I only do it when I'm doing it for somebody else. I feel like I can eyeball 1/2 inch. So I usually just kind of eyeball it. But really, you know, if you want to take a measuring tool or whatever, the pattern allots for 1/2 inch hem allowance. So I'm gonna go ahead and hem this, and the way I'm gonna hem it is I have a I just draw a blank of the name of the machine that does the hems. I have it's not a top stitch. Yeah, is it a top stitch? It is a cover stitch. I had to look at it. I have a cover stitch, and so that's the way I'm gonna do it. But if you don't have a cover stitch, this is I'm gonna tell you, this is a loose bottom hem, because it's a what do you call it? A rounded curved hem. So, and it's not very tight around the waist. So I sometimes have done just a straight stitch, just make the longer stitch. I'll make it like a 3.54 long on the length, and then I've just done a straight stitch before, and it's been fine because it's for me. But if you're giving it to somebody else, or you know, if you want it to be more secure, you can also do just a stretch stitch. And you know, if you do a stretch stitch and the same colored thread as your hem, then it should be fine. It would look great. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this, and then I'll be back with you to put the rest of the shirt together. And literally we're almost done. This is such a simple top. So we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna do this, and then we'll move on. All right guys, my hem is done. And so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go ahead and move on to putting together my sleeve. So here's my sleeve top, and my sleeve middle is right here. And I'm putting my sleeve top right sides up on my board. And here's my raw edge, my bottom raw edge where the sleeve meets. Here's my shoulder piece right here. And so I'm gonna put my sleeve right on top. And again, it has to match, because you know the cuff at the bottom is a little bit slimmer. So it's gonna be smaller, it won't match. So you have to make sure that it matches, especially if you're not having a directional fabric. And I'm putting it right sides down, right on top of that sleeve top. And we're gonna go ahead and serge those raw edges together. I am so glad I took a couple of, feels like a couple of weeks off during the holidays, and I am just like so excited to get back to you guys. It's so funny. I miss it so much. Literally sewing is like my therapy. I was feeling kind of down earlier. I'm a little bit sick, under the weather, and just a couple of other things. But then, you know, I came over here and started sewing, and it's just, I feel so much better. I'm going to go ahead and steam that seam down. If you want to top stitch, you can, but I'm not going to. I like the look of top stitching, like when I'm doing like something sporty or something like that. But when I'm doing something cute and feminine, I don't want to have that like trail. I like it just kind of seamless, if that makes any sense. So I'm not going to top stitch, but if you wanted to, you could. Okay, so here's my sleeve put together. So now I'm going to grab my top, and I'm going to put one of my sleeve sides up. And so here it is open. Here's my arm. Okay, and I'm going to mark, first of all, I'm going to mark my top of my sleeve. So I'm going to fold it in half. And I do a little tiny notch on the top, you can just make a pin, make a mark some way. And I'm going to, so I know where it is right here, and when I serge it, it'll come, I'll serge right over that little notch, so it won't matter. I'm going to put that half right at the shoulder seam right here. And then I'm going to go down towards the one side and pin the raw edges all the way down to the one side. And then I'm going to do the same for the other side. I have a lot of people ask, like, when they're different fabrics and they have different stretch, you know, how do you sew them or whatever. Now, this French terry, so I'm using like a French terry for the top, and the middle piece is kind of like a brushed French terry, so it's a little bit finer, like looser. So it does tend to have a little bit more stretch than the French terry. So I just, when I'm sewing it together, I kind of make sure that I'm even at the middle. And then as I go to the sides, I kind of, if I have to gather it in just a tiny bit, like it really isn't that much of a difference. It's just a tiny bit. Then I just make sure it matches up. Because sometimes when you're doing different fabrics, they have tend to have a little bit of a stretch. Now, sorry guys, I just lost you for a second. What I was saying is when I try not to put two fabrics that are too different together, that have too much of a difference in the stretch, because then it might be a little bit wonky. So try to stick with the ones that kind of go together, that have the same kind of stretch. I have done French terry and double brush poly before, and I have done French terry and hazy before, or however you say that. I'm never sure how to say it, but you don't want to do something that's got like not much. I've done cotton lycra and double brush poly before, and that has been okay, but there's always, when there's that cut off like in between the two, if it's a top and it's supposed to be flowy, sometimes the cotton will make it stiffer. So if you're doing that, you might want to use the cotton lycra on the top and then the double brush poly on the bottom, because the double brush poly has more of a flowy feel. So it just all varies with fabrics, and I am not scared to try different fabrics together, but just try to stick with the same sort of feel, if that makes any sense, like the stretch. Okay, so now I'm serging the sleeve on, and I'm gonna do this one, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do my other sleeve just the same way, serging it on. And then, like, really we just have to sew the sides, put our cuff on, put our neckband on, and we're done. Almost there. With a really cute top. I actually saw someone wearing a top just like this yesterday, and I thought, I am making that top because it looks so cute, and I'm like, I don't want to pay all that money for it. I just want to make it. And then I feel like, oh, I made that top, you know, so neat. Okay, so here's my one sleeve is on. Sorry, it went the wrong way. And now I'm going to go ahead and put my other sleeve on, and then we'll move on to the rest. Alright, sleeve number 2 is on. So now I've got both sleeves on, looking very cute. So now I'm going to flip it inside out, and I am going to serge the sides. So I'm meeting at the raw edges all the way down the side. But the first thing I want to meet is my seams up here, where I have all my seams for my shirt, where I put together the different color blockings. I want to meet those seams first together so that they are matching at all the little different points. There's 3 points right here, so I want to make sure that I match there. Then I also want to make sure that they match down here where my my middle section and bottom section meet. Obviously I don't want to have it like all wonky, and then down at the bottom I'm matching. And then the other pieces, I'm just putting a couple of pins here and there, matching those sides, making sure they're nice and even all the way down to the sleeve. But like I said, I like to match those seams first so that they're nice and even, and then I go down to the sleeve. Boop. This fabric, the brushed, I'm not really sure what it is. It's some kind of sweater knit, but it feels like French terry, but just like a brushed French terry. So it's a little bit more slippery. So I want going to try to take care of that. So now I'm going to go ahead and serge that side down, all the way down. Making sure, I always want to make sure when I'm sewing the sides and the sleeves and anything I'm sewing on, that I'm grabbing all fabrics. Right now I only have 2 layers, but sometimes we'll be doing more than 1 layer. Not this project, but other projects, and you want to make sure, actually yes, this project, when we do the cuffs and the neckband, you want to make sure that you're grabbing all your layers, because when you're done sewing, if you didn't grab all your layers, you'll have that gapping hole. You don't want that. Alright. Side is done. Alright. So now that my side is done, we're going to move on and do my cuff. Here's my side. Actually ended up pretty good right here, if you see that. And right here, my side. And now I'm going to do my cuff. So what I'm going to do is, here's my cuff. I'm going to fold it right sides together. And this raw edge, I'm going to go ahead and serge it together to make it a continuous circle, a band. Alright. And I am just using the same French terry material for my cuffs. So it doesn't have a ton of stretch, so I just have to be careful. So what I usually do is when I put it through my cuff, through my arm, I make sure I stretch it and pin it to the same width of my arm, if that makes sense. So here it is. This is what I'm going to do. Here's my arm, right side out. And here's my cuff, right side out. But I'm going to fit it with the raw edge facing up, so the raw edges will meet. And the first thing I'm going to meet is right here where the seams are. So I know that's the seam, so I'm going to meet that right there. Then I'm going to try to meet all the raw edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a tug, open it all the way up, how it's going to be together, and then I'm going to pin. Making sure, like, if your edges are rolling, pulling them up. Because I want to tighten, that way I know where the middle is and everything, so they are even. You don't want to start without making it even, and then, you know, you end up with like a notch, like a wrinkle on your wrist. You don't want that. So now it's all pinned apart. And I'm going to go ahead and serge those raw edges. I hope that made sense, what I was trying to tell you, to flatten it out and pull it so that it's all tight, because the cuff is going to stretch a little bit more than the actual shirt. Now make sure that you're sewing all your edges, all your fabrics, all your 3 layers, but you're not sewing anything else on there. Sometimes if you're not careful, you might end up sewing the sleeve shot. You do not want to do that. My cuff is done. I'm going to go ahead and sew the other side up and put my other cuff on just exactly like I did this side, and then we're going to move on to the neckband and we'll be done. Alright guys, my top is basically put together and I am so excited because it looks so beautiful. And now I'm just doing my neckband. That's the last thing I'm going to do. So here's my neckband. I'm going to put it right sides together and I'm going to fold it and meet the raw edges. And I'm going to go ahead and sew those raw edges together right here to make it a continuous band, a continuous circle. I'm running out of thread on one of my spools over here, but I think I have enough to finish the neck. You know how that is. So now I'm going to fold it just like a hot dog style, wrong sides together, all the way around. And I'm using this one because it's got more stretch. I wanted to have something with nice stretch on the neck. I don't want it to be tight on my neck. Some of you have asked if I use French terry, if I'm using French terry for a top, if I use that for my bindings, my neck and my arm. Yes, I do. I usually do use it. Sometimes if I see like it doesn't have any stretch at all, then, you know, I have to be careful because I've done it before when it didn't really have much of any stretch, and then the cuffs were really kind of tight. So I need to make sure that it has a little bit of stretch, but usually it does have enough stretch, so I do use it. So now here's my 1/2. So I'm gonna notch the half, and I'm just marking it, so you can just pin it if you want, clip it if you want. I just like to notch it because then if my pin falls off, then I still can see it. Now I'm going to meet those 2 halves together. I'm going to go out to the sides, and those are my quarters. Again, marking those. I always do this to neckband. You should always do it because that way they're nice and even. And I've always found that notching it works great because if it comes apart at any point, then I still know where it is that I'm going. Instead of with, you know, if you're just marking it, if the pin falls off or the clip falls off, you have no idea where the halves and everything were. To find the half of your shirt, you meet the 2 shoulder seams together. You go towards the back. That's your back middle. And I do notch it as well. And if you do, and then you do the same from the front. You go forward, and here's your front. Now for your sides, you do not go by the shoulder seams. You match the front and back together. If you go by the shoulder seams, then it won't be even. You match the front and back together, and you go out to one side. See, it's almost like 2 inches off of the seams. So you want to make sure that it's right, because if not, then it's going to be a wonky neckline. And then we're going out to the other side, and obviously it's the same thing, about 2 inches off. And those are my quarters. Now I'm going to grab my shirt is facing right sides out, and I'm going to grab my neckband and I'm going to feed it right onto my shirt, right sides together. So I'll start at the back, and I'll do my back one, meeting my back seam of my seam line on my neckband. Then I'm going to the next point, my quarters. Excuse me, I'm going to the front. And I'm going to the other quarter point. And as you can see, now my neckband is on the outside of my shirt, raw edges out. So I'm going to go ahead and start serging. Now, make sure that you grab all 3 layers like we said earlier. You don't want to leave any out, because then you have to go back and serge it again, which will be fine, but it makes room for your neckband to be a little bit wonky. So you want to make sure that you get it right on the first time. What I do is I make sure I go to the next point. I grab it, make sure I'm holding it, and because you're gonna have to pull the neckband a little bit, give it a little bit of a stretch to even the line to the shirt. So now I'm going to my next piece, grabbing it with my 2 fingers, stretching a little bit, making sure they're even, and go. Almost there. Next section. Again, I want to make sure I take my time with my neckbands because I want them to be nice and even. So I want to make sure that I did them right. And the last. I always do my neckbands with my bands facing up, because I want to see how much I'm taking off. And then I leave a long tail. There is my neckband. Nice and even. So glad. That's always the scariest part, because usually you do your neckband last. And so you just spent all this time working on your top, and then you do your neckband, and then it doesn't work out. That's like, no! I just did all this for nothing. Okay, so we're done. But now I'm going to show you how I finish my tails on my serger tails, so that way we can put them away. I use one of these big needles. This is like a tapestry. Well, I use it for crocheting. I don't know what, but they're just the big ones with the big, hood eye. So now I'm going to go ahead and I just thread it. I just put it through like some of the Serge thread. Just pull it right through. I thread it, obviously. And then I don't pull it all the way out, because if I do, then it doesn't go through. But here it is. It's threaded right there. Here's my little left. And then I'll just pull it right through all those places. Tuck it in. And you can do it as far along as you want. And then I clip it. You can weave it. You can do it however you want to. And now it's gone. My tail is gone and it's tucked in. And I'm going to do the same thing to my tails on my sleeves. I'm going to do the same thing to my tails on my shirt. But look at how nice that hem was because of doing it that way with the corners. And then when I tuck this in, you won't even be able to see that. So it'll be a nice hem right here on the corners. Okay? And I am done. Done and done. Beautiful. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had fun sewing it up with me. Please comment below if you have any questions. Let me know what you want me to do next. Please like, share, comment, and if you haven't, please subscribe to our channel so you don't ever miss any of our tutorials. Also, once you make your top, please post it on our Facebook page, our Ellie and Mike Facebook page, or our Instagram. We'd love to see it so we can share in the joy with you of making a garment from scratch. All right, you guys have a great day. Bye. See you next time.